Let's go back to 2020. Samsung released the last Galaxy Note with the Note name, which is the Galaxy Note 20 Ultra. It's a cool phone, and the last of the flagship Galaxy phones to actually include the microSD card slot, something which I dearly miss. But what most people forgot was there was another product launched alongside it. No, not the watch, that thing's whatever. The Galaxy Buds Live. It sported a design that was definitely not common for any earphone, let alone the true wireless market. And this thing, I think we all know this thing has been endlessly mocked as being bad and overpriced, and I'm sure that most of you have watched DankPods cover this thing. I did too, and I wrote it off as a failed experiment from Samsung. But with its street price being closer to like $35-50 now, I can find some in Vietnam for like $45. I went ahead and grabbed a pair. I actually love it. It's now my preferred EDC true wireless carry in Japan. So why am I gushing about these beans so much? Let's find out. Right, so usually for the unboxing, I'd switch to our top-down view, get y'all a look at the box and everything, but well, since I bought these buds live used, there's no box, no nothing, it's just these buds. So I'll steal some videos from other sources to show you, but yeah, you're not missing out on much. It's just another standard white cardboard box as you've seen with these sort of big corporation products. And what you get inside is the standard USB-C cable, large wingtips for the unconventional bean design, and the normal ones too, but the big ones I don't even have. And the rest is just documentation and such. Now, I would be complaining about the lack of ear tip types, but again, weird design, so it's not really applicable here. Otherwise, fairly standard, and if you see my review of the Galaxy Buds Plus, you know what to expect. Taking a look at the case, well, this was when Samsung still had a fetish with glossy plastic. This Buds Live being glossy black plastic, it's basically a fingerprint and scratch magnet. So I'm very sorry, I just cannot get this thing to look nice and clean given my sweaty hands. In the back, you'll get a USB-C port, and in the front, you've got a small LED which indicates the battery left on the case. Opening that up, you'll see the Buds Live basically stored inside. It's resting on these two gold charge contacts, has left and right indicators, and you'll also see this small LED here which indicates charging for the Buds Live. Now it kind of looks like one of those makeup powder cases, doesn't it? And I guess you can even use the glossy plastic as sort of a pseudo mirror. It's a very small and pocketable case with support for wireless charging that you can use on your Galaxy phones, so just plop this onto the back of your Galaxy phone with reverse wireless charging and it'll charge immediately. I wouldn't think I'd use that feature much, but in actuality, it really is quite useful, and I wish other less mainstream brands also try to integrate that into their products. As for the battery that it holds, the Buds Live case gives me about, I'd say close to 2 charges worth of battery for the Buds Live themselves. It's pretty average, but it's a good compromise given that this thing is quite small and compact. So getting to the beans themselves, there is just no two ways about it. This is a very eccentric design. Yeah, you just cannot escape the bean jokes with this. It really looks like 2 kidney beans with weird protrusion in the back with 2 gold contacts. The surface here would be touch sensitive. This is how you control the Buds Live basically. But it's sometimes too touch sensitive, and accidental touches are a little too common of an occurrence for this one. It really is a design that you either love or hate. Some people will think that this is very fashionable and unique. Others will think it's kind of ugly. I was in the latter camp for a long while until I actually got to use these Buds Live. They fit really well into the ear. You essentially just slot them into your ears, and the wingtips, which are essentially, these are just a silicone ring. These keeps earbuds live into your ears pretty nicely, and you can shake it very strongly and it won't come off. As for battery, I think Samsung says you get like 8 hours battery on this thing with ANC off. I usually use this with mixed usage, so sometimes we have ANC on, sometimes I'd be turning it off. I get about, I'd say 5 to 5.5 hours on a single charge. And with the case giving me another charge or 2, that means I get about up to 15 hours of usage free, so pretty good runtime. So yes, I know, compared to an earbud, this beam design, it kind of looks stupid, but it works really well, at least for my ears. The flat head of usual earbuds, they tend to just lodge themselves into my ears, and it makes my ears kind of hurt and strained after a while, especially on a lot of those MX500 clone earbuds that you see a lot of Chi-Fi brands use. Usually those earbuds don't have much bass impact, if at all. But with the Buds Live, the speaker opening, it basically slots into your ears, kind of like this. And you get some of that bass impact that the earbuds tend to lose, whilst also keeping a good level of sound outside coming in, so you can actually be more aware of your surroundings. So why is this necessary in Japan for me? Well, when I'm on the trains, I have to keep an ear out for listening to train announcements. That's how I know which station I stop at and I go down. So the Buds Live does an excellent job at getting me good enough sound quality for casual listening, sort of like background music kind of stuff, whilst also letting me hear those train announcements clearly. And believe me, within this niche of earbud TrueWaz products, I spent a whole day trying out different ones at Earphone, which has an extensive collection of audio stuff. If you ever go to Japan, visit that one. Now, I went from stuff made by Aviot, which is a Japanese domestic brand, especially their TEM1, which is a TrueWaz earbud, which just sucks. It has no bass like most buds, and it's not the most comfortable either. And then there's the Earin A3, an older product, which is minimalistic and nice looking. It's got a really cool metal case, but it just makes all of your music sound like they're played through a crappy tinny radio. In fact, the Buds Live, these were the last thing I tried before I would give up finding an earbud type TrueWaz product, and yeah, it was good enough to convince me. Enough said. But then you might ask, why would I use a normal IEM style TrueWaz that has, the silicone ear tips with like a pass-through mode, perhaps the Galaxy Buds 2? Because most of them don't have great transparency modes. They're not good enough to clearly pipe through the sound of the train announcements to me, and when they are good enough, usually they sacrifice on sound quality, and it's not as good as the typical IEM style TrueWaz. So with the Buds Live, with its weird open earbud design and ANC, yes, this thing has ANC, when you need a little bit of noise reduction, it was the perfect balance for me. And I think if you go on commute a lot and you need to listen out for train announcements, this is a great product to have.
The mic on the Galaxy Buds Live isn't anything to write home about. It does an okay job at picking up my voice, but it's still quite tinny and quiet sounding. I would trust this beyond basic calls and some conference calls that hopefully don't affect your career.
And oh yeah, did I mention the Buds Live still has ANC as well? It's not stellar, don't get me wrong. This was one of Samsung's first forays into ANC, so you don't get much granular control here, just on and off, basically. But it works quite well to cut down on low frequency humming noises from engines and such, which was especially great for me when I'm on the train and on a plane. Since it's an earbud design, it doesn't give you that weird and nauseous suction cup effect like with noise cancellation on a usual IEM style TrueWaz product. However, aside from the low frequency droning sounds, this ANC, it doesn't really work for stuff like people talking or high-pitched frequencies. Something with silicone ear tips will still outdo the Buds Live in general isolation. Still, this ANC, it comes in a pinch, and for what little it does it well. So you can toggle the ANC on the Buds Live themselves, or you can do it through the Galaxy Wearable app. In here, you'll also find some EQ presets, although I just usually leave them on stock. You can also remap the touch controls or just disable it altogether if you find that there's so many accidental touches. You can also have the Buds Live detect when they're in your ears and they play the call audio through the Buds Live. But when you take them off, it'll detect that and it'll play the audio through your phone speaker when you don't have them in. I don't know why Samsung didn't make an auto pause function when you take the Buds Live off your ears, given that there is the hardware inside to do that. I don't know why, it's a missed opportunity, I guess. But otherwise, you can also have the Buds Live pipe through a little extra sound in a sort of pseudo transparency mode, as if this earbud design isn't already one, and reading notifications, which I don't use. There are some features that are exclusive to Galaxy phones though, like a low latency gaming mode, which in my testing reduces the latency from about 207 milliseconds to about 150 milliseconds. It's still pretty bad, but a little bit better, I guess. And then you have the 360 audio feature, which I guess is trying to replicate Apple's sort of spatial audio thing. It was pretty gimmicky to me. Don't bother with this. It's not that great. Now you get IPX2 waterproofing, so it's gonna be good for sweat and light rain, but not much more. As for the codec support, you get SBC, AAC, along with Samsung's proprietary scalable codec. Again, this is exclusive to Galaxy phones. On other Android phones or on iOS devices, you just get SBC and AAC. There's no aptX or LDAC, but to be honest, it won't matter given that this kind of earbud design, it isn't great for detail retrieval anyway, so any loss of detail I would attribute more to just the design of the product rather than the codec. Alright, so how does this thing actually sound? Surely it's absolute garbage and you can meme it to hell, right? Actually, no, it's really quite good. I'm not gonna overanalyze the individual frequencies much, but on the whole, you can think of the Buds Live as earbuds with an IEM type of sound. It's got an overall warm and dark signature. Now, a weakness that I find with normal earbuds are that they're just not good at bass. Something that the Buds Live rectifies, and it does quite well. You get a decent thump and rumble out of the Buds Live, and it certainly outdoes many other earbuds in this department, wired or wireless. Now, there's a decent amount of bass bleed, and the bass quality is not the highest either, but the lower mids here, they're nicely warmed up, and it has that type of lush feeling that you've come to expect from other earbuds. And I just find this presentation very comfy, and I can easily listen to the Buds Live for hours, which I do. Upper mids and treble is where the Buds Live needs some improvements. It's pretty muddy and lacking treble extension, which adds to the feeling that it's not as it doesn't have the clarity of other competing products. But still, you can play a bit with the EQ presets as well as your own EQ outside to restore some of that clarity, and it can get a bit more clear if you work on the sound a little bit. There isn't some kind of magical soundstage wideness on the Buds Live. If anything, the soundstage is more narrow than other earbuds, so it's closer to an IEM soundstage. Technicalities, though, are actually pretty impressive for an earbud, and you actually get quite close to the average cheap IEM in terms of macro detailing on a Galaxy Buds Live, although micro details are certainly being smoothed out due to the warm FR along with the bud design. Overall, you shouldn't expect the Buds Live to sound as good as the equivalent IEM, but it has a fun and casual sound that's still better than the usual earbud, also giving you that extra situational awareness due to the open design, and that's a sweet spot I think the Buds Live absolutely nailed. So to wrap it up, I truly feel like the Galaxy Buds Live is one of the most misunderstood of audio products, and it gets a lot of undeserved hate due to its unconventional design, and that includes me in the past. But once I got the chance to try one, I was hooked. When it came out, it was certainly overpriced, and its sound quality did not measure up to opponents with a more conventional IEM form factor. Even products within its own line, like the Galaxy Buds, sounded better at cheaper prices. However, what the Buds Live achieves is a sound that is close to IM quality, but in an earbud design. Which seems weird, right? But it's actually really comfortable when you try it on, these beans, man. The Buds Live, it allows you true situational awareness that almost no true wireless transparency mode can truly replicate. That alone is something that not many true wireless products can really boast about, let alone the extra features and integration from the Samsung wearable app, which is just icing on the cake for me. With the deep discounts that Samsung offers on its old stock, I found my Buds Live for like $50, and I've seen local deals go as low as $35. I urge you to give these Galaxy Beans a shot. Psst, they're magic.